Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going somewhere a little different. Not a boardroom, not a battlefield, but inside a kind of pressure cooker.
Mm-hmm.
High Stakes Athletic Academy. We're going to be looking at a single afternoon right after a set of just grueling practices.
And we're zooming in on 4 different conversations happening at the same time.
Exactly. 4 simultaneous, really revealing moments between these young, incredibly ambitious athletes.
Right. And our whole mission here is to treat this like, I don't know, a psychological crime scene. We're unpacking the evidence.
The evidence being what, exactly?
The exhaustion, the ambition, this intense rivalry, but also this weird forced sense of camaraderie. Every detail, the room, what they're saying, their body language, it's all a clue to what's really going on inside their heads.
Okay, so let's start where the emotional heat is highest. That's in viewing room, VR6.
VR6, right.
We find 5 of these athletes. We've got Hal, Kent Blott, Ingersoll, Arslanian, and a kid named Peter Beek. And they are just splayed out.
Utterly limp.
Yeah, totally limp on this shag carpet.
Yeah.
The level of just physical depletion is...
Right.
It's kind of horrifying to picture.
It's a state of near collapse. I mean, their jaws are slack, their eyes are described as dim and wide.
And Peter Beek is asleep with his eyes open.
Exactly. So this is like a specialized form of recovery, but really it looks more like psychological disarmament. You're looking at kids push way, way past any normal breaking point.
And the room itself is so clinical. It's windowless, and it's built around this massive, painfully high-definition viewer.
And what's on the screen is supposed to be helping them recover, but it sounds haunting.
It is. It's a loop of this older tennis player, Stan Smith, looking totally ravaged and gray, but he's hitting these perfect, egoless forehands and backhands.
Over and over.
Over and over. The whole point is visualization, right? You're supposed to just sort of disappear into the loop, internalize that perfect, frictionless movement.
Yeah, and carry it onto the court with you. There's even a mantra that Hal has muted, something like, don't think, just see, don't know, just flow. It's chilling.
It really is.
Yeah.
But all that meditative stuff just gets shattered instantly. Kent Blott, one of the kids lying there, he just says it out loud.
He vocalizes this genuine dread.
Yeah. He's looking at his own future and just seeing, 7 or 8 years of unhappiness, suffering, exhaustion.
Yeah.
And he asks the big question. Even if you make it to the show, the Pro Tour, does that just mean more pain?
More skeletal stress, more unhappiness. He's articulating what they must all be feeling deep down. But what's so telling is Hal's reaction.
He jumps right in.
Instantly. And he says, no, this end of the day hatred, this bitching, it's not an accident, it's expected. It's actually planned out by the staff. Stitt and DeLint, they see it as part of the work.
Okay, wait, so the staff knows that this misery is part of the process. How does that, that seems so counterintuitive. Aren't you just creating competitors who hate the system they're a part of?
You'd think so. And Hal basically explains why they all stick around, and he dismisses all the obvious reasons.
Right. Ingersoll chimes in and suggests it's for, the show, the fame, the money.
Scholarship. And Hal just shuts that down. The odds of making the Pro Tour are, 1 in 20 for a top junior? Astronomical. And most of these kids, like Blott, he's got a trust fund. He doesn't actually need a scholarship.
So if it's not for the money or the fame, why are they putting themselves through this?
This is where Hal lays out his theory. And it is brutal. He says the entire academy is designed with inequality as an axiom.
An axiom. Wow.
Yeah. Because of the constant internal challenges, everyone knows their exact place in the food chain to the millimeter.
Yeah, he just rattles it off.
Instantly. John Wayne is over him. He's overstruck. Arslanian is over Blott. Every single interaction is weaponized by that hierarchy.
And that gets to the core of it, this incredible loneliness.
Yes. That's the genius and the cruelty of it. Hal says it perfectly. We're each deeply alone here. It's what we all have in common, this aloneness.
Think about that.
I mean, you're showering together, eating together. You're supposed to be rooting for each other. But every time your teammate wins, it's another wall between you and your own goals. How can real friendship even exist in that environment?
And when Hal says this, you can see the other kids trying to compute it. Arslanian and Ingersoll, they start throwing around these, academic terms.
Solipsism, existential individuality. They're trying to intellectualize the pain.
But Hal just brings it right back down. He says, no, it's just loneliness.
And that's when it hits them. The emotional wall just crumbles. Blott looks like he's about to cry. Ingersoll just says, I miss my dog.
It's such a human moment. It brings all that tension right back to this basic need for connection.
And that vulnerability, that shared misery, that is exactly what the staff is counting on. Hal's big conclusion is that the fatigue, the stress, the misery, It's all intentionally allowed,
He calls it their gift, their medicine.
which is just incredible.
He says the staff, Stitt, Delent, Dr. Tavis,
Mhm.
they get progressively more foul-tempered and sadistic right before big tournaments,
They calculate the breaking points.
and then they just push them right past that line on
Yeah.
purpose.
It is brilliant, cynical manipulation. By piling on doubles matches, ignoring exams, making the drills unbearable, they give the kids something external and universal to hate.
And that's Hal's big insight. Nothing brings you together like a common enemy.
Right. So for a moment, these 136 isolated, lonely athletes all unify against the staff. They get this instant group cohesion, a single community voice.
So the misery is actually a tool to forge these temporary powerful bonds. It makes them better competitors through shared hatred.
It's an incredible psychological machine.
It really is. Now, while all this heavy emotional theory is happening in VR6, a couple of rooms over, the focus is totally different. Let's look at VR5. In there, John Wayne, who's the #2 player on the continent, he's leading a big buddy session. And it's all about the abstract roadmap to tennis mastery.
And Wayne's whole idea, which Lamont Chu is explaining, is that progress isn't a straight line. It happens in these frustrating plateaus.
You get better, then you just stall completely.
And to get off that plateau, to climb to the next level, it takes what he calls frustrating, mindless, repetitive practice and patience. It's a theory where your temperament is actually more important than your raw talent.
And based on that, he breaks down 3 ways to fail. 3 types of players who just don't have that temperament.
Right. First, you've got the despairing type. They hit the plateau, they don't see immediate results, and they just quit.
Then there's the obsessive type.
The one who tries to brute force their way through, they overwork, they get injured all the time, and eventually they get that quiet little chat from Delent.
But it's the third one, the complacent type, that Wayne thinks is the absolute worst.
Absolutely. This is the kid who gets to a plateau, sees how much better they are than they used to be, and just settles. They get comfortable.
They build their whole game around compensating for their weaknesses instead of fixing them.
Yeah, they rely on being good enough. And in this system, that is the ultimate sin. That comfort signals the end of the struggle. It's the beginning of the slow slide down until Delent comes knocking. You have to choose to be perpetually unhappy to succeed here.
And this focus on temperament, on the mental game, it comes after the mechanics are supposed to be perfect, which is a huge contrast to what's happening in VR3 with the younger players.
Oh, completely. Down in VR3, a guy named Trolch is talking to the kids under 14 or 15. And for them, it's all about removing thought from the equation.
Mindless repetition.
Exactly. Repetition for its own sake, to sink the movements into the hardware, into the machine language of the body. They need to become autonomic, like breathing.
He literally says they might as well be machines until they hit that age.
So they're treated like automatons to hardwire the physical skills. But then Trolch connects it back to Wayne's theory. Once the body is hardwired, that's when the crucial plateau begins.
That's when the real fight starts.
Right. The fight against your own chattering head, character, focus, concentration, that becomes the battleground. The physical stuff is just pro forma by then.
It's like a stage developmental cruelty.
It is. First, they remove your mind to build your body. Then, once the body is this perfect machine, they put the mind back in just to subject it to the maximum possible psychological stress.
So with that goal in mind, what are the actual rules of engagement on the court? I mean, under all that pressure, that's what they're talking about in VR8.
With the tactician, James Struck.
Yes, and he's this revered scholarly figure, and he's talking about the gray areas. A kid named Traub asks the classic question, what do you do if your opponent Kurt Wangs?
If they cheat.
Yeah, if they cheat on line calls and there's no linesman, do you cheat back?
And Struck's answer is an entire philosophy.
Yeah.
He says, you do not Kurt Wang back. You play the calls, not a word, keep smiling.
You maintain your dignity. If you win, you grow. But if you lose...
Then you do something private and unpleasant to his water jug right before his next round.
I mean, that's amazing.
It's such a contradiction, isn't it? Maintain this perfect, stoic dignity on the court, but make sure you get your subtle private revenge later. It shows their code isn't just about winning at all costs. It's about maintaining a certain internal moral structure, even while you're, planning a petty crime.
And the conversation just pivots on a dime from that, from high-level ethics to the most visceral human problem possible.
Ah, yes. When 13-year-old Carl Whale asks the hot, nasty, pressurized fart question.
The one that might not be a fart.
Right. The one that might be an urgent need to defecate. mid-match. And it just highlights the absolute level of commitment that's required here. The game trumps basic human dignity.
And Streck addresses this with total solemnity. He details his iron rule.
Nothing escapes my bottom during play, not a toot or a whistle.
He'll play hunched over, in pain, completely constipated, all for the sake of dignified caution.
And he has a ritual for when it's really bad. He looks up to the sky and says, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?"
And the other kids are writing this down.
They're writing it down. It turns this absurd physical sacrifice into like a religious tenet of success. It's dark, it's funny, but it also reveals this profound truth about the academy.
Which is?
That every single part of yourself, your body, your emotions, your morals, it all has to be subjugated to the sport.
And that idea of sacrifice, of denial, comes up again 2 floors down in the foyer. Orthostis is relaying a message he got directly from the man, from Stitt himself.
And this message goes way beyond just tennis.
That's the whole philosophy of life.
Yeah. Steve says Stitt told him that the only way to reach those deep, unknown parts of yourself, those reserves of greatness, is through sacrifice, suffering, and absolute denial. It makes the pain not just a byproduct, but a necessity.
But then Stitt connects it to something even bigger.
The ultimate motivational tool.
He links it to patriotic play. He tells them this is how you can be a good American, even when, quote, America isn't good its own self.
And that's the masterstroke, isn't it? It connects their intense personal suffering to a national duty. The pain is no longer just for them, it's for their country.
And it works. Stess just declares, I'd chew fiberglass for that old man. The suffering is transformed from a burden into this powerful, unifying, almost religious cause.
Which brings us right back to Hal's theory in VR6. It's a closed loop of control. The staff isolates them, then weaponizes their misery by giving it a higher purpose, whether that's hating the staff or serving the country. They achieve both goals at the same time.
So let's go back to Hal, because while he's figuring all this out, he's also dealing with his own stuff. He's trying to spit out a plug of chewing tobacco.
Right, Kodiak. And it's tied to these rebound effects from past drug use. So his eyes are watering, his mouth is filling with spit. He feels physically sick.
And there's this profound inner dissonance going on. On the one hand, he's got this brilliant theory about the academy. On the other, he is just filled with this silent, inexplicable repulsion for Ingersoll.
The smart, soft kid.
Yeah. The text suggests it's because Ingersoll represents parts of himself he won't accept. But in the moment, all Hal feels is this intense dislike. His internal chaos is spilling out his hatred for this kid who's done nothing wrong.
And his private struggle, the addiction, it's getting deeper. He realizes he's starting to seek the secrecy of getting high more than the high itself.
In a place where you're watched constantly.
Exactly. Finding that private, unobserved space is almost impossible. And the physical symptoms, the watery eyes, the feeling that there's a clue to his own motivations, just out of reach. It's all a sign that his psychological sickness is bubbling to the surface.
This is the real cost of being there. And Blot brings him back to the present with this simple, sad summary of his whole theory.
So the suffering gets less lonely.
And Hal is just left there, thinking about limits and rituals, trying to figure out the difference between a real need and a strong desire. For someone in his position, that is a massive, unresolved question.
And it's almost time for dinner. Another fixed ritual. The servers wear these strange, obgenish gloves.
And Hal knows he should be there, but he's thinking about slipping into the tunnels for a quick hit, even though he knows it'll make him late.
His real battle for mastery isn't on a tennis court. It's right there, in that moment. It's internal, it's messy, and it's all about whether he can resist that need for immediate relief.
So when you step back, you see that this academy isn't just a training facility, it's a psychological laboratory.
They've literally mapped the human psyche and built a system around it. They knew competition would isolate these kids, so they weaponized things like shared hatred and sacrifice just to create these fleeting moments of community. The whole thing is designed to make you feel alone so that your performance becomes your only path to salvation.
So what does this mean for you, watching this all unfold? Well, its success really does depend on surviving this level of suffering. Can Hal, or any of them, ever truly tell the difference between a disciplined necessity and a self-destructive desire?
And here's the really provocative thought. If the only emotional bonds holding this community together are engineered by their common enemy, the staff, how strong can those bonds really be? What happens when the system is gone and they're finally left alone to face the real cost of what they've sacrificed?